Alright, what's up? Let's see if we can get this finally going after like the third or fourth time I've tried to make this video. Alright, let me put on my glove. So, various uses for VT2 for Ed, right? What we all were expecting coming to Season 3 was that it would buff his mid-range game, right? That's what we were hoping for at least. But that's not the case, in my opinion at least, right? You're able to benefit in small ways, let's say like, that, into like, some form of Oki, but it's not really beneficial, like in the long run. Like that's not its exact use to like, cancel off like neutral, to cancel off neutral into like something, right? It's unlikely. So what I've been doing is using it to just steal my turn and continue pressure, right? And even build meter to a certain degree. So that's like some of the many benefits of V-Trigger 1. You're able to steal your turn 4 times total, right? So one of those times is when the initial activation of V-Trigger, when you actually use the two or three V-Triggers afterwards, right? Let's use guard all, right? So normally when you're pressuring with Ed, right, the most you really get are 2 mediums, so it'll be medium, right, for the true string, or like that, right? But you don't get anything off either one, right? So one more time. You don't get anything. Even off that, right? So in order to kind of supplement this, also you could do this, right, into super, or you could do this into whatever, but it doesn't really net you anything in total, like in general, right? Because like the likelihood of that happening is actually unlikely, like still even, right? It's still very unlikely, right? So in order to kind of continue pressure and do all these different things, right, what I like to do is in this scenario when I'm frame trapping people, in order to make them respect me, right? Because if you don't like have this initial threat, if you're unable to do that, right, there's no like real threat or anything, right? So again, that's one of its very ceases, my bad. So right, into corner carry, into like double dash into something, right? You're able to dash afterwards and like pressure them into a corner carry. That's one of the big benefits, right, off a frame trap. Another way to use it is via shimmy, right? And this is kind of like my favorite option. So let's do it. Or, and of course, like, when you do this, like, you're also extremely plus. So let's say, for example, this, right? If you know they're, like, willing to press, you could really just, like, punish them for it. So one more time. Into that, right? So that's 300 damage right off the bat, just for them, like, even trying. So then that'll establish, like, a throw game and a shimmy game, or frame trap, no frame trap, etc., right? Let's see what else I got over. Oh yeah, so one of the biggest benefits to this is you're actually able to shimmy as well. While you have it active, the threat of when you have V-Trigger, right, the threat of shimmy is so much scarier, right, for a few reasons. Obviously, like, you could shimmy to hit them into like a right death, right, if you have super, but what I like to do is, in order to continue pressure, let's say I don't have super, right, and the likelihood of me getting super this round even is, it's just not there, it's just not possible, right? So let's say I decide to shimmy them, right? What I like to do is, because like you're gonna get scaled a lot, right? So what I like to do is, right, one sec. And drop them over, bring them to the corner, right? So that's 243. So one more time, let's do it without the EX, because that's more meter efficient, but it doesn't entirely bring them to the corner. And then you're in their face, right? And you could pretty much string them to the corner. So it depends on what you really need at the time, or like how far away from the corner you are too, because like at the end of the day, you could still bring them to the corner with that. So the reasons why that's better is because it does roughly about 200 damage if you do just Psycho Rising, an extra 50 if you waste the EX bar. But let's say for example, alright, let's say for example you actually do waste the bar, right? So let's actually do the shimmy. Oops, my bad. Oh, I'm a fraud. Alright, just keep the damage. right, into 258, into whatever, right? So there's no point in wasting your extra turns or your extra potential to kill somebody off of that, right? So one more time, we're gonna do it. We're gonna use 2 bars, right? See, that only added an extra 10 damage. That's nothing. The only time it's ever worth it is if you're gonna kill, of course, right? Oops. And this should do about, I believe, 400. So the only time you ever really want to do this is if you're gonna kill. So yeah, so looking at it, yeah, again, 400, right? 423. It's the only time you really want to use it. So let's say you are pressuring people, right? Let's see. All right. Let's say you actually are pressuring people. When you finally have them in the corner, right? Just having the threat of V-trigger is so important, especially in the corner. I would even start wasting my own EX bars just to continue having it, right? So let's say, for example, okay, right? Just a regular combo in the corner. Let's take out guard all, right? Let's say you actually hit them with this, right? It does about 336, and it gives you like very good plus frames on their wake up, right? So let's try it. Let's try it regularly. So what I actually like to do, right? Like you could use that as like an ender, but let's say you actually do hit this combo, right? What I like to do to continue pressure is, my bad. You're supposed to dash forward first, right? But let's do it again. Oops. So then you'll have your plus frames, right? And you're going to continue having those plus frames. So then when you're +8, that's when you kind of continue and keep pressing forward over and over and over again. So then, like, you know, it'll set up like your usual like EX. Oh wait, let's see. Like your regular like EX, like +8 EX fireball stuff. Oh, I have no bar for that one. So all right, but you kind of get that idea. So the only true strings that you really could have while you pressure with this, because everything else is interruptible, right? So obviously charge up Psycho Knuckle into this, into like a hit, into like death or something, right? Into the same Oki off Fireball. Oh, wait, let's put it to back rise, right? Okay. Right, so you're gonna get that same like fireball string over and over and over again if they quick rise, and if they don't, then you just have the EX fireball. It's fine, right? Or just accept the. Or sometimes like you could just meaty stand strong if you don't have bar, if you don't really want to risk it. Oopsie. You have to manually time it and all, but you know. I'm such a fraud. Right. You just have to like manually time it, crouch strong, do a stand strong, even if you don't really want to waste your bar, which is perfectly fine. It's the same situation, right? You're still pressuring them. Alright, so let's see where we were, right? So as you're pressuring them, right, let's say you finally do snatch to them. This is probably the most reliable string. Into like something, into like death, right? Well, you're not going to have the EX bar, I believe, but whatever, right? Let's say another scenario, again, you shimmy them, like, into death. Like, it makes his entire game, like, that much scarier. Let's say, for whatever reason, your EX Fireball does hit and you don't really confirm it. So let's do this one. Oops, my bad. Let's say, like, you delay your EX Fireball, right? Just as an example. Into that, into more Oki, into like, you know, death pretty much. And that's the ultimate goal. So a few other things I like to do also while continuing pressure is, again, just having the threat of V-trigger. A lot of people, right, you could kind of tell if they know how to interrupt it. So just like my good friend Akuma over here, right, let's make him do jab. There's obviously a gap, right? But a lot of the times people don't want to risk it because they're afraid of getting hit by the delay. It's a little tricky to time, but people mess up the timing, see? People don't want to like eat the counter hit on that. So most of the times they're gonna end up respecting the entire thing. See? Because that can happen. That actually happens more often than not. So that's one of the many benefits to that. So let's say I am stringing them, right? Let's say they are aware of it. Let's say the time is impeccable, and let's say you don't really want to risk getting interrupted, because that's like, you know, you're wasting V trigger and you're getting interrupted. Why would I ever want that, right? So let's say they're waiting for like that obvious gap, right? So this is when you should be more creative with your mix-up, right? You should already understand that they're afraid, and their mindset is, I don't want to have to eat that, right? Chances are they're neutral jumping, they're doing like a lot of things to try to avoid it, right? So in turn, you just pressure them regularly from here, right? Like, you know, you do normal frame traps, you add on like white life. Sometimes you even press forward by dashing just because they're afraid. They don't want to get hit. If they get hit, they lose. They literally lose. They'll lose half their life, right? So, I guess I don't really have to give an example, right? But, you know, let's say you do want to do V-trigger, right? What's the trickiest way you possibly could do it? So, again, right, let's say you're stringing them. Let's say you're doing your flicker string, trying to wear them down. Do it raw. And then you're in there, see? And then you're throwing them. You're doing all these different things with them. That's the like biggest benefit to V-trigger 2. Just having the threat itself is so dangerous. And I mean, to be honest, like that's really one of the bigger reasons why I think V-trigger 2 is the V-trigger 2 use. Yeah. All right. So another benefit, you could use this when they're jumping forward or neutral jumping. I'm just doing neutral jumps because I don't feel like recording it. Actually, I think I recorded it the last time I tried this. Okay. Right. Perfect. Right. So obviously he's jumping with jump fierce, right? A lot of the times, you could really mix someone up, like, really badly. Let's say, for example, they're going for, like, a cross-up. Whoopsie. Let's get this. And cancel. Right. You get a tricky cross-under like that, right? And then you could shimmy them. You could do a lot of things after that. So another one you could use is stand medium kick, just to get the plus frames and, like, just get in their face. And then shimmy them, or just shimmy them. There's so many options you could get after this, after a dash. Sometimes, like, what I like to do is, a lot of people respect the scenario, so I double dash sometimes. Like, it's definitely, like, not real, right? But a lot of people just get hit by it. Or, like, you know, the double dash isn't real, but, you know, a lot of people get hit by it. But otherwise, like, this is great use of it. And then you're in their face, you're carrying them to the corner. And the more you make them block, the more you're carrying them to the corner where Ed is most effective. So that's, you know, more reason for you to use it. So another use that I actually, surprisingly, like, I've been using a lot more lately, because people, whenever they see Psycho Spark, they're really willing to jump, and you'd be surprised how often they do, especially when they're about to die and they know you have V-trigger, because they don't want to eat this, right? Because if they eat that, obviously, like, you know, they have to hold the block frames, so, like, they're desperately trying to just get over it. So, like, you could just empty cancel it, or if they get hit by it even, like, you could cancel into that. So let's see if I can make him whiff, or make my fireball whiff. Jeez. Aim rid. Oh my goodness, I suck. I think I have to do it at the apex of the arc. Whatever. Hypothetically, they jump. You get this into super, right? And you're probably wondering, like, that's so dangerous, right? Like, what if you just miss both? But you want to know something? If you're throwing fireballs where you should be throwing fireballs, like right around here, for example, or maybe even here, right? The likelihood of them avoiding it entirely is unlikely. Like, they have to be, like, super duper far, and most of the time they're going to be jumping forward. And of course I'm missing because, you know, right? See, small stuff like that, it really does help. So, with some of these jump situations, you're actually able to force it by doing this. The likelihood of you getting fully charged V skill at the end of a game, though, very unlikely, right? Because, like, that's actually what they're looking for. Most people, when they have their V trigger stocked, or even when, you know, when you're about to die, especially, they're looking for that one hit, and they're desperately trying to get in majority of the time, even if they have the lead, right? So when you're about to die, chances are they're looking for that. So I wouldn't like the likelihood of you getting this is very like slim, right? But you know, you might get it. I get it sometimes too, honestly. And Store, I believe, posted it up one time. Like you're able to get the force to left right situation based on distance. Oops, based on distance, like it makes it more tricky. It's like, yeah, you could dash under. If you get a close one, you get a really ambiguous one. You just walk. See? Whoa, okay, well, I did that wrong at the time. And you're able to just stand there sometimes. You could do... Right. Try to get a better one. Depends on how well you move, honestly. This one's definitely up front, yeah. Like, trust me, it's possible to get the crossover one, see? Oof, I'm wrong. Let me do it off the stand medium kick, I think. But I mostly just dash afterwards. Right, and then you get the hit. Again, these small things and small details are so huge to Ed because you really could kill off like one scenario off that, honestly. Because again, you reset the V-trigger scaling, and then Akuma's pretty much dead. Like off of this right here. Let's see how much damage it does. Yeah, it does 502 damage. I've definitely killed like Karen players, I've killed Ibuki players just by hitting them once. Definitely just by hitting them once. And lastly, probably, I wouldn't say it's the most useless, right? But it's, let me get it first. Right? Is being able to V-reversal, or punish V-reversal is pretty hard. Right? So, let's see if I can get this. Right? Guard all, let's make him crouch. Right? Wait, why isn't he? Oh, I didn't set it. I definitely did the scenario wrong anyway. Yeah, so let's say, for whatever reason they decide to V-reverse, right? Let's say they're just desperately afraid, or they're trying to guess your flicker, or they're trying to guess, like, you know, they're trying to guess this, because once you V-reversal it, like, you know, you wasted your V-trigger, right? But, again, as you're pressuring somebody, that's 230, and you get corner carry and Oki, right? So let's do it off of, like, jab or something. Oops, my bad. Into corner carry, into Oki, right? So it's really good. Let's see another scenario. Oh, activation of V-trigger is another popular one, and he didn't do it. Alright, let me just do it off this, so he does it, right? It's so common that you're probably gonna get it. Another thing I like doing, this is kind of rare. I should probably do something about this. Oh yeah, ways not to use V-trigger, right? So places I wouldn't want to do it is like mid-screen scenarios, because this is actually where they really want to neutral jump out of it, right? So let me set block recovery real quick. For whatever reason, people, they neutral jump or like they jump forward out of this like all the time, dude. I don't know why. Like it actually blows my mind, like how, like, you know, maybe I'd see it at neutral also just because like it's not in my face, right? So again, like let's say for whatever reason I do that, you're dead, right? Don't do it mid-screen. Like when you're playing footsies, this is like the last thing you do. You don't want to cancel into it off neutral, only when you're pressuring. Oh sorry, wow, that was definitely wrong. Right? Definitely when you're pressuring you want to do it. Or if you get a Psycho Snatcher, that's when you want to do it. So again, like if you're like around here, like this is probably like right around here is probably the, alright, stop jumping to Google. But right around here is like the ideal range as to where like you want to do it. You never really want to do it while you're playing neutral, only when you're pressuring them. So like then it throws off their timing because like you might do flicker, you might do like crouch strong, stand strong, or crouch strong, stand medium kick or something. Like there's small things that like really change like the mentality of like a player. One more thing that I actually do almost always get away with, and this might carry you a diamond, right? So there's an obvious counter, right, to the obvious counter to avoiding Psycho Knuckle after some knockdowns when you desperately want to get in is actually just backdash, right? Which is kind of surprising to me. I don't know why. It's actually kind of mind-boggling, right? So let me set the wake up option. see if he wakes up with it. Alright, cool, right? Say for example, you actually do get this hit, right? The likelihood of you getting this is so high, right? Or like after like a specific knockdown, let's try oh my bad, that was definitely the right knockdown. Definitely not the right knockdown. But yeah, after upper, normally like people are really quick to backdash. Or let me set up the back roll, right? I even have back tech, right? So hold on. They really love to back tech this. I don't know why, right? Another one they like to back tech is when you do upper, or sorry, back dash rather. Because they think they're gonna get away, right? So let me do the same exact scenario, but let me do Psycho Knuckle first, because this is what they're trying to bait. Most low-level ed players, they do Psycho Knuckle because they know it's safe and they wouldn't be wasting V trigger if it doesn't hit, or like, you know, they could confirm it, right? Let's see if I can do it. You could kind of get them sometimes. I guess I definitely did that wrong, but it's very unsafe, right? Because they get to see you charge up first, and then you do it, right? And then you get it. Because, like, that takes, like, a million years, like, literally, like, 2 seconds, like, to get off. The likelihood of you getting that is just very, very slim, right? So, sometimes you just want to, like, do that, honestly. Like, after upper, if you just want to continue. Into death. That's pretty much it, honestly. Like, you use it to continue pressure, use it to continue pressure and build meter, you know, all of these like small like tricky things. Me personally, like, it just helps me pressure players. Like, it forces something, right? That's the biggest benefit to this. The mentality behind it, you want to force these situations of like uncomfortability. Oh yeah, one last thing, my bad. There's another thing you want to keep track of. So say for example, you finally do make them block, right? And you don't want to be like one-dimensional and like always do this, right? You don't want to be one-dimensional. So you notice them, they're only walking back, right? So let's say for example, you know they're gonna, oh my goodness, he's jumping forward. Guard recovery. Let me set this off. Stand, right? So usually what they like to do, some players, like in this situation, they actually like to walk back, right? Because what it does is, let me just imitate it. Like, I'll have to do my own walk back, right? In order to simulate the range. They like to walk out of the range, right? So in order to stop this, normally you have to obviously immediately jab, right? But that's, you're not really punishing them for walking back. So obviously, like, you could kind of go low forward if you want. But what I do is to like keep it safe and like, you know, really abuse your +2 is crouch short, stand jab, flicker into super if I have it. So after first attack, right? So let's do this. Never mind. First attack only. Right? So you'll almost always get super in that, or flicker, like to fully hit in that scenario. You got corner carry and you saw your V trigger. It didn't do too much because it was off jabs. It was like 300. But again, you're getting this like scenario, right? You're punishing them for like not blocking low. I don't really suggest doing jab into low forward all too often. I don't know why. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, I've tried like, you know, doing jab to condition them, but most people jab, or most people like they do something to stop it. Most of the time you want to force them into the +2 situation where it's like, oh shit, like it's a split-second decision opposed to you doing opposed to you doing this, which gives them more time to think about the scenario. You want to keep forcing these split-second situations. And I think that's it, actually. Other frame traps, I guess, like most of the time, like when you activate, like if you block, you're like super plus, so you would just do crouch fierce, honestly. Crouch fierce and frame trap into EX fireball into something. Oh yeah, don't like, if it's not a counter hit, don't ever really cancel into